Okay, so I made these Stay Warm sketchbooks back in October. I think it was mid to late October. And it is now late April. It's almost May. So I wanted to make a little video and show you what I've done in my Stay Warm sketchbook so far. This is my particular copy. As you can see, it's kind of dirty. The corners aren't perfect. The pages are a little bent, and that's just the way I like my sketchbooks to be. I don't like a perfect, precious little sketchbook because then I don't want to draw in it, or I feel like I shouldn't draw in it. This sketchbook, I can spill ink in it, I can spill paint on it, I can take chances in it, I can create really cool stuff in here, I can learn in here, and that's kind of the way I like my sketchbooks to be. But yeah, I'm probably about halfway, almost halfway through this particular sketchbook. So this will be a part 1 video. There'll probably be a part 2, maybe even a part 3. I get a lot of mileage out of my sketchbooks. They last me a while, so this will probably last me till the end of the year, if not longer. Sometimes I'll go back in and fill in all the white space and stuff like that. So aside from doing my Stay Warm warm-up drawings in here, which I hope you have been using it for that reason as well, I've also been doing like studies of artists whose work I really admire and want to learn from. I've been using different tools as well, different pens that I've been wanting to try out, trying to push myself even with inking, which is what I feel comfortable doing, but I'm trying to finesse even my inking skills in here. It's been really fun to work with color in here as well. Color has never been like my strong suit. So I've been working with gouache paint and really trying to understand value and paint application. And I've been doing it in here, and it's been a lot of fun. And of course, as always, I'm jotting down ideas. I'm using it for thumbnails and doodles and various different experiments and stuff like that. So let's jump in. I'll show you what I have in here so far. I could assure you none of it is beautiful. And I think that's the whole point. It's a sketchbook, sort of learning on the job. Hopefully, sketchbooks like this can facilitate the beautiful work in the future. So, like I said, without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, so here we are, opening up the sketchbook. There's a little reminder in the Stay Warm sketchbook from me, just to let the juices flow. Use this as a place to sharpen your drawing skills and stay warm and engage your imagination. So if you have it, you know what I'm talking about there. First page, I left the first page blank for a while, actually. I tend to do that with my sketchbooks. I don't know, there's something daunting about that first page. So sometimes I'll start drawing on like the second or third page for whatever reason, then come back to it. So I think it was like a month or 2 in until I drew on the first page. But this is just a photo I found on Pinterest. I like the body language, how the weight is being distributed on one foot over here. Oftentimes, I use Pinterest a lot, actually. It's pretty great for photo reference for artists. And a lot of the criteria that I look for is body language, as well as light and shadow, and also interesting drapery or texture of clothes. So this one had a lot of those things in it, and I just kind of drew it with some markers and probably some different pens that I was using. Tex. This is my original character, one of them, from a comic that I've been working on and off for a while. And maybe one of these years it'll see the light of day. In between everything else, I try to find time to work on this. And this is one of the main characters, Tex. He's a cowboy. Yeah, Tex is a cool guy. He's beating people up. In the sketchbook, it's cool to just kind of get comfortable drawing your characters in different angles and different situations. It kind of helps me understand my characters better, and therefore I'm then able to sort of write them a little bit better too. For me, because I'm not like a strict writer, a lot of like character development and things like that kind of come out of the drawing itself. So sometimes I'll just start drawing the characters doing certain things or standing certain ways, and then out of that I'll sort of get personality, which will lead to different stories and all that kind of stuff. So This is Jan, the other character. If some of you who might have used to follow my Patreon, that's where I was self-publishing this comic when I was first doing it. And it's called The Adventures of Jan and Tex. That's Jan, that's Tex. In recent times, I've been reworking that story. And like I said, I hope I have something to show you soon. A couple of faces also from Pinterest, one old, one young. I was using this new gray pen that I have, and it's pretty cool for like shadows and just to sketch with. It's really soft, and it kind of feels like a nice happy medium between like pencil and ink. I could kind of build up with it and then go over with some black ink when I feel like I want to add something a little bit more definitive on top. And so I liked the different lines in this guy's face and different shadows being cast, and this gray pen is really cool. By the way, I've been meaning to make a longer, newer video about all my supplies. I have a really old one up from years ago, but I have a bunch of new pens and brush pens and brushes and paints that I've been using lately that I'd love to show you all in a longer video. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, let me know in the comments below. A couple more poses I found on Pinterest, some awkward hand movements and interesting sort of like positions. So this was cool. And then why not draw a little Peter Parker Spider-Man in there as well. Some more gray pen. I thought it would be cool to kind of try to describe this pattern that I found in this photograph, and then kind of played with it a little bit, like the pattern is coming off of her pants. It's kind of a fun one. Some more poses, more drawing, more gray, more shadows. I should say that most of these so far are Stay Warm warm-ups. So I do these, and some of you may have done these along with me. I always find that the more the merrier with this stuff. It's really cool to see everybody's different interpretation of one particular pose for a day. So yeah, these two in particular were Stay Warm warm-ups. Here's some more character studies of my character Jan. This is her in her waitress uniform. And again, just trying to find personality traits just through sort of sketching and getting real loose. And then maybe refining it just a little bit more with ink on some of them. I might go back and refine this and this. My sketchbooks, I feel like they're never set in stone. I could come back to this, months, sometimes a year later, and just sort of pick up where I left off or start erasing and draw over it. That's sort of the beauty of sketchbooks for me. Here's some gouache painting. I mentioned in the intro that I've been playing around with color and trying to get more comfortable with paint application. I find that gouache is a really happy medium for me in terms of paint, just because you could use it like it's watercolor and you can use it like it's acrylic, and then you could mix those two things together all with the same paint. So yeah, it's very versatile. A lot of the classic illustrators from back in the day, they used gouache, and if it was good for them, it's probably good for me as well. Some of this is gouache with ink on top of it. I like that blending of gouache and ink. For me, I feel most comfortable with black line. So if I could get some color underneath and then kind of do more of the detail with what I'm comfortable with, that's kind of like the way I've been doing some of my more finished colored pieces lately. Although I'm trying to push myself and get better at just completing whole pieces just with gouache. I've been doing a few of those, and I see myself getting a little bit better, which is encouraging. Some thumbnails. Trying to figure out some storytelling for this comic that I'm working on. Just a couple of little scenes here. It's always good to use sketchbooks for that reason as well. Planning, thumbnails, doodles, all that kind of stuff. These are random people on an airplane who were waiting for a bathroom. Everyone was carrying some sort of drink and some sort of snack. So not the best drawings, but they were standing there and I needed subjects. Here's some more Jan, just kind of zoomed in on a panel idea that I had. some more thumbnails for that same story. I'll do some rough little thumbnails, refine them a little bit bigger. I'll draw some, write out some dialogue. It's a lot of back and forth between words and pictures for me in terms of writing stories. Like I said, I'm not a strict writer by any stretch, so I have to draw my way through it to some extent, just to kind of have it come alive. I like to see things sort of happening. More random thumbnails and doodles and thinking. Here's some studies. This is from a painting by the illustrator Edwin Georgi. He's amazing. If you're not familiar with some of his stuff, he's an illustrator from, I want to say, probably like the 50s and 60s. And the interesting thing about this piece was that this was a painting that he did, and I was trying to execute it just with black and white with the tools that I have. And it kind of forced me into this interesting, like, cross-hatchy, dry brush kind of style. And I really like what came out of it. It's interesting trying to interpret like paint strokes and lights and darks from something that was painted in full color and then translating it into black and white ink drawing. And like I said, I think it kind of just inspired me to use some marks that I might not have otherwise made on my own. So that's one of the cool things that can sometimes come out of a study, is that not only are you reverse engineering what that artist is doing to sort of learn from them, but you can find some new approaches to your own work through that. So this was one of them. Here's a J.C. Leyendecker study. Similar, this was a painted color painting by J.C. Leyendecker, and then I was translating it into like an ink line art. And it kind of allowed me to explore different mark making that I might not otherwise have. And I almost feel like it looks not much like J.C. Leyendecker. It looks more like a John Buscema comic book piece, or like an old Prince Valiant comic strip style. And I really like that. I like some of the effects I was getting with the drapery and some of the finer lines on the face. So yeah, this was a really fun study. This one, speaking of classic comics, a John Romita study, I really loved the simplicity but effectiveness of this composition. The original panel had word balloons in it as well. And so much is going on. There's 3 characters. There's a very clear foreground, middle ground, and background. And it's just super clearly composed. And that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of figure out, like how he spaced all those characters apart from each other, size relationship, how he was able to get just the right amount of detail into this very small panel. So this was a fun one. More just roughs and doodles. Sometimes I just do this stuff at the end of a night or in the beginning of the day, just from my head to kind of, I don't know if that's a pilot or what that is, but just to kind of mess around. Here's another one from a photograph I found online, playing around with just some gray and black and white line art. Here's a pose that I just started out, and that's where it ended up. Just from my head. This guy, I don't know where he came from. This whole page was just me kind of doodling. I'm pretty sure that this was all done at night while I was just didn't know what to draw and just started drawing, and then stuff sort of kind of comes out. Sometimes you could surprise yourself with the things that come out, and sometimes those could lead to more finished pieces and interesting ideas. So I like to utilize that aspect of sketchbooking as well. Here's one from a photograph, and I kind of jazzed it up with some Kirby crackle and some different lighting, kind of used the photo as a jumping off point, and then just built on top of that. Here's some more gouache, messing around with gouache and trying to get comfortable with it. Definitely not happy with the way this came out, but I was trying to blend gouache and line together. It was a learning lesson for sure. I like this face because I didn't need, or I refrained from putting any black ink lines on it, and just kind of I feel like I got something going here where it was just gouache, just paint, but it felt more like natural to me in terms of mixing drawing and painting together. So yeah, there's something here, and I want to explore more of that. It seems small and really rough, but I can see a little bit of potential here in terms of perhaps how I might be able to do more finished work with just gouache. Okay, this piece actually, I really liked the way it came out, so I scanned it and then I colored it in Photoshop and turned it into a print. And this is actually available now in my shop. And I don't know where it came from. I just started kind of roughing in this pose, and I had this idea for like a woman with an umbrella and it's raining. I blended a bunch of different textures together. This black behind her was just applied with a paper towel and ink, so I could get some of that like dry brush, rough texture, clouds, I guess. And then I've been using these white Posca markers, and they're really fun. And they just went on so clean on top of this whole thing. So I just started having fun with it, squiggly lines and, you know, more interpretive raindrops. So like I said, this one was fun to like take to a more finished level afterwards by adding some digital color and yeah, turn it into a print. This is a good one. Every now and then a finished piece will come out of your sketchbook. Here's another study. This is another Ramita study, classic panel. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this one. It's made the rounds in the meme world. But yeah, really great panel. I was trying to mimic those really strong, bold brush lines on Peter's face here in the foreground. That was fun. I'm less crazy about how my Mary Jane came out, but it was a fun one to work on and sort of try and recreate the magic that was this panel. Here's some just random drawings. Some of these two, maybe all of these are from photographs, and then I kind of just like messed around adding some riffing on top of them. This one, I put the color down first, just using a sponge like from my kitchen, and patting it down and then drawing on top of it. So it has like a certain kind of texture that I like. I like to use my sketchbook sometimes to like find different ways of creating texture, like traditionally, and then hopefully one day being able to take them into more finished pieces. So I feel like there's something here that I might be able to use in a finished piece in the future. We'll see. Here, this spread, I'll try to pan out a little bit. There's a lot going on this one, but this one is Sue Storm from How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. Some of you might recognize that's a classic How to Draw Comics book. I probably haven't drawn directly from that book since I was a little kid, so this was an interesting exercise. This is from the proportions chapter. So there was a Sue Storm and a Reed Richards one, and it was just showing like superhero proportions. So it was cool to follow it as closely as possible. And then when I inked it, I kind of added some of my own illustrative flares, but it was really cool. I feel like I learned a little bit more in terms of like getting in the head of a master like John Buscema. And also I really dig the classic like proportions from like the 60s, very different than probably comic book proportions today. Here's a face from a photograph. Here's some cool poses. Here's some, you know, quick gouache messing around experiments. Here's some more thumbnails. Like I said, a good use for sketchbooks for me sometimes is just like figuring out ideas and storing them too, because you never know when you might go back and you know, take some ideas that you didn't pick or that you didn't think were good at the time. Here's some thumbnails for a composition, for a commission I was working on. This was for she's like a hunter, a bow hunter. So yeah, it was cool. I think I went with something that was closer to this. I altered it a little bit. I'll post that final commission soon enough. I took some process video of that as well. This was for a Wonder Woman sketch cover commission. And I went with this idea, but I liked really all of them. And maybe I'll use some of these compositions or ideas for future commissions or just future ideas. We'll see. But this is it was fun to sort of think about, because this was going to be a color commission. I wound up doing it in full color. I used the gray tones to sort of indicate some lighting even in the sketch phase, just to think about how I might approach some of the colors. A cool composer, looking all serious and powerful. I thought that was a cool photo to draw. This was a Stay Warm warm-up. Here's some dancers. Here's a face I just drew from my head, thinking about reflective light in glasses. This guy looks really sad and very intense. This was from a photograph. I was inking this in a way that was sort of like David Mazzucchelli in his like Daredevil days, where it was like very raw, emotional, bold black lines. And I think it really lent itself to the emotion in this piece. This drawing was drawn from my head, but it was with the intention that I wanted to make it look like I was drawing something from life or from a photograph. So I was trying to think of a pose and an image very, very clearly in my head and draw it as if it was right in front of me. So that was sort of the exercise with this. I see some good and I see some bad all together in this piece, like many things in my sketchbook. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. I kind of like this loose, cross-hatchy feel. And who knows, maybe at some point I'll use this for something more final. More poses, some inked, some not. Some of them from my imagination. Some of these were just online poses that I found just to draw almost gesturally real quick. This was someone that I was drawing at a cafe. The trick is not to have people realize that you're drawing them. So if someone's reading or if someone's looking at their phone or napping, it's a great time to draw people. Otherwise, it can get tricky, but I don't think she spotted me drawing her, which is good. Here's just some more gouache, more rough, but trying to get comfortable just with gouache and no black line. So that's just from a photograph. This was another Stay Warm warm-up that this was fun to work on. Some gray marker, some ink. It's a really cool pose, great drapery here. It fit all my Stay Warm criteria for a good warm-up, that's for sure. Here's some more thumbnails for a page that I still haven't resolved, but getting there. This is actually 2 pages from the comic that I'm working on, so stay tuned for that. I was in New York last month, and I went to the Met, which is one of my favorite places, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And more than drawing the paintings or the sculptures there, I just like drawing the people. There's so many people, and it's great for drawing. So when someone's checking their camera, like a tourist is checking their camera, it's great to draw them. When people are on their phones or staring into space or looking at art, it's great to draw them. So yeah, people were taking some really cool poses, and I just kind of sat there and drew people for a little bit. It felt really good. It's one of my favorite things to do, no matter how rough they sometimes are. It's a fun challenge. Let's see. This was also at the Met. I was trying to draw this sculpture, and it just wasn't working. I was standing up, and I was getting tired, and I was getting really, really frustrated too. So I took a photo of it, and a little bit later on, a few days later, when I was on the plane, I actually drew from that photo, and I think I got it much better. I captured the angle a lot better. This was also done that same day. This is a study from Norman Rockwell, who's one of my favorite illustrators and painters. This is a Pinterest photo. Here's that Norman Rockwell, more of the actual full proportions. Let me try to get that in focus. Norman Rockwell has this really great sort of, I guess, technique or style where he's super realistic, but then he exaggerates things like a big nose or big hands and big feet. It's very subtle, but super effective. I love it. Here's another just Pinterest photo. Here was a recent Stay Warm up. This was just from last week. This was fun. I was using a mapping nib, a little bit different, as it doesn't have much give in terms of like line weight. It's not like a G nib or anything like that. It's very, very thin, but it's great for hatching and doing face details. And then I put like a wash over it, and kind of happy with the way that came out. This is a recent gouache experiment as well, refraining from doing any kind of like ink drawing on top of it. So this is just pure gouache, trying to, figure out lighting and value and all that kind of stuff. And then this was actually today's Stay Warm. This was from a little photograph I found on Pinterest as well. And again, this was just with gouache, no black line. So I'm trying to push myself in that direction and just improve upon that. I think it'll feed itself back into my line work stuff as well too. Hopefully, we'll see. And that's it so far. So like I said, that's about midway through the sketchbook so far. I got a lot more space in here, and I'll probably go back in and fill in some of these white spaces and draw over things and erase stuff. So looking forward to getting more out of this Stay Warm sketchbook. Let me get this thing in focus. There we go. And perfect timing too, because my phone is about to run out of space. So thanks so much for watching. Comments and questions down below if you have them, and stay tuned for the next longer form video. Hopefully one will be up soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.